A woman fails in her personal life as men abandon her one after another. Soon an old acquaintance returns to the country, who has become a handsome and famous musician. He wants to be near beloved, but he gets a competitor in the form of her boss. With which of them will the ugly woman stay, having for the first time received the opportunity to choose? The series begins with a 7-year-old girl named Najai. Despite her young age, she is already responsible for a little boy. The son of the neighbor seems to be a real monster because of his behavior and character, but Najai feels sympathy and empathy for Alan. She replaces his older sister and mother, as his own mother is always busy with work and other things. Over the years, Najai continues to surround the boy with care and attention, as a result of which she teaches him everything she knows. Sometime later it becomes known that his family is leaving Thailand. The boy is not ready to part with Najai without a farewell gift, but he has no money, so Alan gives her one of his teeth and weeps bitterly, hoping to see the girl again. In turn, Najai gives Alan headphones and an MP3 player so he can listen to music whenever he remembers her. Years pass and Alan returns to Thailand. During this time he has changed dramatically, becoming a handsome and in a way famous man. So all the girls pay attention to him, but he still thinks about Najai and came back just to meet her. Najai's life has also changed a lot over the years, as she has become a successful woman working as a fashion marketing director for a large home goods company. At some point, her mother calls her and informs her that Alan has returned to Thailand and will now live with them, which upsets her. A friend warns Najai that this story can end badly, as her man will clearly not be delighted with such a neighbor. Agreeing, she remembers that in the past he was an insufferable child and ugly as tofu cheese, so she has no desire to see him. The woman is adamant about having such a guest, as she doesn't want the man she loves to show jealousy or want to break up because of another guy in her house. As it turned out, Najai never loved the guy and considered his upbringing a humiliation. Despite the cruel words of the woman, the guy keeps his cool and says that he missed her all this time. A little later, Najai meets her boyfriend, and he informs her that he has prepared a surprise for her and a serious conversation awaits them in the evening. Meeting her colleagues, the woman learns that they saw her young man in a jewelry salon, where he bought a chain with a pair of wedding rings. In the evening, the couple meet in a restaurant and Najai expects a marriage proposal. Instead, the man declares that he wants to break up and does not explain the reasons for this decision. The woman pleads with him to give him a chance to continue communicating with each other, but it makes no sense. Reliving the breakup once again, Najai nibbles on grief with restaurant food. She thinks back to all her boyfriends and realizes that she is extremely unlucky in love, as she gets dumped in every relationship. She dated guys several times in high school, but they left her without explaining the reasons for their actions. Leaving the restaurant, Najai is angry as her young man not only broke up with her, but also ran away without paying for dinner. Walking around town, the woman calls Alan to apologize for her rudeness. The guy does not take offense at her and admits that he missed her very much. All these years he dreamed of returning to Thailand just to be near her. He kept his childhood promise and came to the country, hoping that Najai would be happy to meet him. A little later, she goes home to her boss, who has become a best friend over the many years they have worked together. Najai informs her that the man she loves has left her and that she is going through a difficult time. Kang calms and supports her subordinate, offering to have a drink and relax, forgetting about the failures in his personal life. At the same time, he feels sympathy for Najai, but is afraid to cross the line of friendship. The next morning, a woman talks to her work colleagues and learns that they want to go to a concert and she could keep them company. As it turns out, the famous singer is Alan, but Najai does not recognize the guy, as he uses a creative pseudonym that she has not heard before. In the evening, the friends go to a nightclub where Najai and Alan notice each other. The guy looks at the woman, but at the same time no one knows that they have known each other since childhood. A little later, Alan approaches Najai to chat, but he is taken under the arm by a young beauty, accompanying him as if she was his girlfriend. Najai speaks rudely to the stranger, and the guy asks her to be more respectful. Not wanting to continue the dialogue, the woman leaves the party and leaves. Alan hurries after her to try to talk and apologize for his girlfriend's rudeness, but Najai leaves in a cab. A couple of days later, Alan gives an interview to a local TV channel and openly states that he came to Thailand specifically to meet the woman who taught him everything. His love for music started in childhood, and only thanks to the efforts of this person he has achieved what he has now. After a short press interview, Alan goes to Najai's old house where she used to live. Here he succumbs to childhood memories, as the caring girl who raised him for several years gave him a record player. It was the record player that instilled a love for music, for he listened to it every time he thought of Najai. Some time later, Alan calls the woman to talk and invite her to a meeting. She talks about losing her loved one and becoming withdrawn, but the guy continues to insist on his own. A little later, she goes to a cafe for dinner and meets Alan, who knew very well that Najai would be here tonight. The woman feels interest and sympathy for the guy, and it seems to be mutual, but she is confused by the slight age difference. After the cafe, she heads home, but Alan follows the woman to see the password to her house. Finding herself in an empty apartment, Najai is sad and reminisces about her former partners, collecting in a glass the wedding ring she was given and then forgot to take back. Soon, a woman's friends come to visit and stay overnight to discuss men and lift each other's spirits. The next day, Najai goes to work and meets her ex. She tries to negotiate that their personal problems should not affect the atmosphere in the office in any way, as their breakup has nothing to do with working together. The man declares that he can't see her in front of him and gets a portion of insults in return, as Najai is very hurt and emotional. At that moment, the girl who was at the club the day before in Alan's arms appears in the house. Noticing a chain with rings on it, Najai tears it off, after which she gets slapped and the women start fighting. Alan arrives on the scene and tries to reconcile the conflicting women. Enraged, Najai runs out into the street and knocks off the car mirror with foot, and Alan stops her with a hug, causing the pair to fall and cross glances. The guy threatens that he might report her to the police, but the woman is embarrassed enough as it is. She gives up her car key and Alan promises not to write a report in her name. A little later, the guy helps to treat the wound on her arm, and Najai has no idea that the handsome man in front of her is the same kid she raised as a child. In a private conversation, Alan reveals that he was taught to receive just punishment when he made a mistake. He subtly hints that Najai herself said this, but she doesn't realize it. Alan invites the woman to the hotel, not hiding his sympathy, and Najai tries to be nice and unapproachable. When she returns home, she thinks about what happened in order to make the right decision. At the same time, she sees the old rings of her ex-boyfriends and realizes that she doesn't want to hurt her heart anymore with deceit and betrayal. A little later, the guy calls Najai, but she declares that she doesn't want to see him as he was her childhood friend, and it's all in the distant past. Realizing that the woman is heading home, Alan hurries there and enters her house as he has remembered the access password. After looking around and making sure she is not there yet, he calls Najai again and begs to meet her. She flatly refuses and asks him not to call her again. On her way home, the woman notices Alan and is surprised, not realizing how he ended up here. She asks him if he saw the monster from her childhood haunting her, but the guy assures her that no one else was here. Not wanting to return to a house where no one is waiting for her, Najai spends time with a guy, not realizing that Alan and the nasty boy from her childhood are one and the same person. The next morning, Alan uses a second phone number to call the woman and suggest a meeting. When she arrives, she makes sure he has repaired the car and restored the broken mirror. The couple goes for a short car ride so that Najai can appreciate the comfort of the car and the beautiful sound of the engine. Stopping at the seashore, Alan offers to stand for a while and enjoy the beautiful moment. The guy admits that he feels sympathy for her from the first meeting. She seemed to him angry, but at the same time weak, so he hugs and brushes her. Najai would like to resist, but gives in to the romantic moment as their feelings is mutual. The woman hopes that this is the true love she has been waiting for. Back home, she spends the entire night cuddled up to her phone, hoping Alan will call her, but it doesn't happen. The next morning, she checks her missed calls, hoping that the guy called her during the night, but unfortunately he never called her. At the same time, Alan goes to the store to buy groceries. A little later, a delivery man comes to her, but she is surprised as she didn't order anything. Alan calls Najai from his number and informs her that he handed her the groceries. The woman reacts aggressively to the old acquaintance and asks him not to send her anything else. At the same time, she continues to think about Alan, wondering why he still hasn't called her. Assuming it's because he's a famous person and too busy, the woman justifies Alan in her eyes. At work, she keeps peeking at her phone, hoping Alan will call or text, but the only people who send messages are her friends. At the same time, a guy sneaks into the woman's house to leave items that evoke fond memories of their past together. As he is about to leave, Alan hears that Najai has come home early and is hiding in another room. He sees the woman changing her clothes and overhears her conversation with her coworkers. At the first opportunity, Alan runs away from Najai's house. Meanwhile, the woman finds the children's drawings and realizes that someone has been in her house. Alan calls from his number and admits that he was in her house as he knows the password. He also reveals that he has changed the password for the apartment to his date of birth, and Najai will only be able to get out if he can remember that date. After several unsuccessful attempts to guess the password, the woman gets out of the apartment through the window and begins to fear Alan, who is stalking her like a psychopath. At the same time, she looks through her childhood drawings and succumbs to pleasant memories because the boy was not always nasty and left a mark in her life. Calling the boy back, she asks him not to break into her house because now they are strangers and there is nothing in common between them. The next morning, Najai goes to work to sign an important contract for her company. Meeting the very kissy in front of her, the woman does not want to find common ground with her and throws her pen on the floor. The girl is not going to humiliate herself and takes the other pen out of her pocket. Leaving the negotiation room, Najai meets Alan and ignores him. The woman looks at the popular singer with disgust as he ignored her and didn't call her back after the last date. As she leaves, she notices Kizzy hugging him and feels jealous. Back home, Najai calls her mother to find out the friend's date of birth and open the door. After getting there, the woman realizes that it's Alan's birthday tomorrow and decides to call him to invite him over for breakfast to celebrate. She seems determined to be kind to the boy from her childhood, but soon meets Alan in front of her. Najai realizes that the monster from her childhood memories and the musician she is in love with are the same person. As a child, he was scary and she wasn't attracted to him as a boyfriend, but things changed dramatically over time. Najai doesn't understand how Alan became so handsome. Realizing that he has been deceiving her all this time and hiding his true identity, the woman punches the guy in the face and leaves. A little later, Najai is going to work, but the guy blocks her car with his and offers her a ride. Having no choice, the woman agrees and pretends to be asleep the whole way so that he doesn't talk to her. Upon arriving at the office, the guy approaches Najai to brush her, so she has to inform him that she is awake. In the office, the woman chats with her boss and receives a portion of compliments about her beauty. Back home, Najai tries to ignore the guy and not communicate with him as if he is not in her apartment. Alan states that he wishes he could find a reason why he adores her, but he's having no luck. Najai sarcastically laughs at the guy, stating that he's just a kid and they shouldn't be thinking about anything more than that. She ignores and rejects the guy more and more by the minute, after which she complains to her mother, just like when she was a child and had to take care of Alan alone. Despite the pleasant memories of the past, the boy realizes that he is a burden to Najai and goes outside to stay out of her way. Noticing that it is night, the woman texts the guy and asks him to come home. When they meet again, he admits that he behaved like a child, but now he wants to make up for it and offers her food he bought nearby. The next night, Najai comes home from work and finds a note in which Alan apologizes for his stupid actions and promises that he will not bother her again. In the morning, the boyfriend returns to Najai's house but sees a man coming out of the shower. The woman claims it's her brother, but he's not willing to back up her lies. Later, she says that the coworker only stayed at her place because she ruined his shirt. During breakfast, she kicks Kana in the leg to keep him supporting the legend and not talking too much. Looking in the fridge, Alan is saddened as Najai hasn't touched his food. A little later, the guy sneaks into the apartment only to leave a rose and lift the mood of his favorite woman. In the evening, the couple meets at a cafe, but Najai falls asleep because she drank too much. Deciding not to leave the woman he loves in distress, Alan carries her home on his back and remembers how Najai carried him when he was a baby. At the same time, the boy remembers how angry he was at her when he saw her with another boy. The next morning, Najai's company fails and the manager's attitude changes drastically towards her. The woman becomes an outcast in the team as she is blamed for all the failures. Returning home in tears, she tells Alan about it, and he supports her in a difficult moment. Najai becomes more and more immersed in work, and Alan continues to show concern. Meanwhile, the manager starts dating Kissy. Alan and Najai also get closer, but the woman is afraid of relationships, so she tries to pull away from the guy when he is too close. He offers to listen to his music and the woman agrees, after which she falls asleep on Alan's shoulder. The guy takes Najai to bed, but she won't let go of his arm, causing Alan to have to stay by her side. Noticing that Najai is not upset that they woke up in the same bed, Alan hugs her and suggests that from now on they go to bed together. Khan and Kizzy seem happy too, as they spend all day at home. Soon Najai learns that her boss is dating the socially repugnant Kissy. She is upset as she thought the manager was in love with her. The woman writes a message to the guy that they cannot be together because of the big age difference, as he is 26 and she is already 32, and she is more suitable for a relationship with the manager, not a young musician. Najai feels hard that her boss is dating a young and beautiful girl. At the same time, she is not pleased that their relationship with Alan has soured. When she gets home, she assumes the guy is gone, but he's in the bathroom and ready to listen to whatever is bothering her. Soon he repeats the 3 cherished words, "I love you" again, but Najai leaves without replying anything, as he still considers Alan a child. In the evening, Khan and Kizzy are going to a play, but the manager is annoyed by the girl's sociability with other men. Kissy admits that the relationship was purely for work, so the couple breaks up. Khan goes to Najai and informs her that he has broken up with his girlfriend and invites her to the play. The woman is genuinely happy about it and asks Alan to help her choose a dress for the date, which makes the guy very sad. During the play, Najai notices Kizzy and realizes that the boss is just using her to make the girl feel jealous. Back home, the woman tells Alan about it and he calms her down, promising to be there for her no matter what happens. Najai falls asleep in the boyfriend's arms, after which he gets a call to warn him about an important meeting, but he hangs up so the woman won't wake up. The next morning, she swears at Alan as she overslept and is late for work. A little later, the guy rushes to Najai's office to hand her lunch, but is met by the manager. Kang meets with Najai and apologizes for yesterday's act, but Kissy spots them together again. In the evening, Alan arranges a romantic dinner for the woman, and the couple succumbs to pleasant memories from their childhood. The next day, the marketing company has a successful business, and the manager meets a subordinate in good spirits. He invites her to lunch, while Kissy watches the couple from the sidelines and continues to be jealous of Kang for Najai. The work colleagues spend the whole day together, which really upsets Alan. At one point the guy just leaves, but just one text from Najai makes him go back in as she can't sleep without him. The next day, Kissy meets with a woman and asks her to stay away from the manager so they can become friends and be friends instead of rivals and enemies. Kissy declares that Kang has feelings for her and Najai is just using her to create feelings of jealousy. The truth upsets the woman and she calls Alan, as he is the only one who can comfort her. The next morning, Khan calls Najai and asks her out on a date, but she refuses, citing fatigue. The chief decides to visit the woman, but soon Kissy shows up at her house. Khan declares that he has feelings for his colleague and the girl runs away. Najai tries to make peace with Kissy, but she does not want to listen to her. Back home, the woman tells Alan that she wants to listen to his music and is very hungry. Soon Najai gets a promotion and becomes not Khan's subordinate, but a manager like him. The man decides to propose to Najai to make the engagement official. At the same time, Alan buys the woman flowers and she tells him about the proposal and the decision to marry Khan, as she is very happy and their feelings are mutual. Alan is very upset as he loves Najai, but she does not want to recognize this fact. The next day the woman goes on a date with Khan, but gets caught in the rain. Alan is outraged that the man does not care about Najai and let her get wet. The guy doesn't understand why the woman is in love with the manager and tries to explain that they have nothing in common, since she doesn't know him as well as Alan. A couple days later, Kang invites Najai to his house. The woman hopes for a romantic date, but it turns out that the man only thinks about work. She is hungry and asks for a pause, but he is too focused on reports and the problems of the marketing company. In the evening, Kang takes the woman home and holds her hand but doesn't brush her, which makes her very upset. When Najai enters the apartment, Khan and Alan meet outside. The guy has bought a plush giraffe and the manager wonders if he really has feelings for Najai, but Alan is unable to answer and feels too awkward. A little later, he gives the woman a toy and hugs her, but she seems cold, as if she wants to reject him. The next morning, Najai gets the promised promotion and takes a job. When she learns that Alan didn't wait and left with Kizzy, she gets very upset but hides her feelings. In the evening, Najai and Kang go to a party where they are noticed by Kizzy. The girl is well aware that the manager is using her to control the company, but she doesn't want to believe it. Alan also tries to explain it to Najai, since he is the only one who truly loves her. The woman doesn't realize that the guy is insinuating himself and says that she doesn't have the man she's been looking for so long by her side for so long. A little later, Najai goes to a cafe and Alan follows her, after which he decides to return home. On the way, he notices the manager, but hides the woman's whereabouts from him as he doesn't want them to communicate. Realizing that this would make Najai unhappy, Alan decides to stay out of their way and informs them that the woman is at a cafe. Soon, Kang and Najai meet, and the man apologizes for his behavior and actions. He states that he has feelings for her, and that makes the woman happy. At the end of the date, Kang asks her about Alan, but she doesn't answer anything, only informing her that the guy is 6 years younger than her and nothing connects them except friendship. Najai texts the guy since she can't sleep without his embrace, but he ignores her and sleeps on the couch with the giraffe. A while later, Alan announces that his work in Thailand is over and he will be traveling again, but before he does, he has one request. The couple have a romantic date and enjoy the time, but soon it becomes clear that these are just Alan's dreams, which are not destined to come true. In fact, he asked her for a farewell dinner, after which the couple hugs and throws out the trash together. The manager witnesses all this and becomes jealous of Najai. The couple goes to a movie, but the manager doesn't say a word and the woman doesn't know how to explain what happened. In the evening, Najai comes home and Alan brushes her hands. She slaps him and tells him that there will be no more hugging and touching as she is going to marry another man. A little later, she sends the manager a photo, proving that there is no one else in the apartment. Alan notices all this and is extremely angry with the woman because she deceives Khan and hides him, treating him not as a boyfriend, but as a friend. After the quarrel, she tries to hug Alan, but he rejects Najai because she was against touching. The next morning, the woman is bored at work and decides to call her boyfriend, after which she says that she did it by accident. In the evening, she looks extremely sad, but instead of being with Alan, she calls Kanu and also states that she misses him. Najai is about to go on a date with a man, but Alan stops her. He asks to spend quality time with him, otherwise the guy will return to America. Soon Khan arrives and the woman tries to lie that she wants a vacation. Kang and Alan meet face to face, after which the guy demands to choose one of them. The cocky manager has no doubt that Najai will choose him since she is in love with him. The woman actually chooses a work colleague, which upsets the guy. Deciding not to interfere with someone else's happiness, he packs his things and leaves, leaving behind only the headphones that Najai gave him 20 years ago. A woman meets him on the street and asks him to stay away, but Alan brushes her and tells her he's saying goodbye to her forever. She doesn't understand what he means, but the guy leaves without answering anything. Back home, Najai sees that there are no boyfriend's belongings in the house, except for some old headphones. She calls him to ask him to come back, but the phone is disconnected. Najai is left alone in the empty apartment and becomes depressed. Nothing makes her happy anymore, as no one hugs her or cooks her dinner. She drinks tomato juice and sleeps in the arms of a giraffe, but her health is gradually deteriorating on the background of stress. Meanwhile, Alan tries to distract himself from his problems and starts working on the radio to stop thinking about the woman he has feelings for a while. Soon Najai begins to cry, realizing that she cannot without Alan. Going to the park, she calls Can and asks to keep her company, but the man is too busy working. Soon it begins to rain and the woman notices Alan. He informs her that he forgot some things at home and will come to pick them up, but no more than that. Najai asks the guy to come home, but he refuses, stating that he will only do so after he hears the words he would like to hear from her. Alan would like to leave, but decides to stay by Najai's side until the rain stops. Khan calls the woman and she ignores her husband-to-be, but this doesn't change Alan's attitude in any way and he leaves. Soon Najai meets with Khan and apologizes for not returning his calls. At the same time, Alan looks at her childhood photos, and the woman finds old headphones and listens to music. Having made the right conclusions, Najai meets with Khan and tells him that they need to break up as he loves someone else and she wants to be with another man. In the evening, she writes a message to Alan, telling him that she has broken up with Khan and has prepared the bedroom for his return. Najai really hopes that the guy will come home, but he refuses to do so until he hears the cherished words. The next morning, she meets with Khan and advises her to apologize to Kizzy by confessing her feelings. Najai realizes that she should do the same, but she is afraid to tell Alan how she feels because of their age difference. She can't believe she could fall in love with a guy 6 years younger than her and is embarrassed that others will judge her. Alan goes to run errands but notices Najai hiding in the bushes outside the hotel. She declares that she has only come to drop off the rest of her belongings. Taking the box, Alan closes the door in her face, assuming the woman has nothing more to say. She knocks on the door again and promises to come again, but the guy is not afraid because he has a lot of groupies. He does not consider the age difference an excuse and wants to hear 3 cherished words from her. After which he closes the door. The woman goes to the hotel and finally tells him that she has feelings for him. He asked her to repeat these words again, after which he happily hugs the woman he has feelings for. A while later, girlfriends advise to stick with the guy because he is young, handsome, and rich. He has many admirers, so Najai becomes jealous and follows Alan's program on the radio. Seeing him with 2 girls makes her nervous, but Alan openly declares that he loves only one woman, and that is Najai. The couple continues to grow closer and return home. Najai admits that the giraffe was the only substitute boyfriend and reminded her of him in some way. In the evening, the woman decides to surprise him and cooks dinner. She doesn't know how to cook, but Alan tastes the food so as not to upset Najai. After dinner, the woman prepares another pleasant surprise, which results in the couple making love. Kissy and Kang begin their relationship again, realizing that they have feelings for each other. Najai organizes a surprise for Alan and brings him to the zoo, having performed a childish communication. The guy thanks her for such a gift and tells her that he has feelings for her, knowing that their feelings are mutual and they will be happy together.